Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are clearly audible now.
Okay, let's start. So, good afternoon, everyone. I am here to take the charge over the rheology chapter, under which I am trying to explain here the Newtonian system, non-Newtonian system, various flows, or we can say the classification of non-Newtonian system, and just we will look over the viscosity and the type of viscometers, else its principal diagrammatic presentation construction working will be conducted by another student, and last the deformation of solids. So let's begin. So here basically the rheology is a Greek word which means the science of flow of fluids and deformation of materials under the influence of the stress. So here the rheology is applicable for both the liquid as well as solid state, but hence the liquid can flow easily. It has the fluidity phenomena. So here in case of fluid we are studying the flow, how it flows, and in case of solid, as it can't have the fluidity property due to the particles are closely packed. In case of solid we are studying the deformation phenomena. This both the flow of fluids and the deformation of materials carried out under the action or influence of the stress. Okay, the rheology deals with these two phenomena. So by studying the rheology, not only we can understand the flow and deformation, but we also get many more information regarding, we can like objectives reflects us that to study the various kinds of flow. So based on that we can categorize the flow of fluids. Okay, that means under the stress how the viscosity get changes, how the flow, how the changed viscosity imparts the action on the flow of fluid. Okay, that we can understand by the studying rheology. On that basis we can also categorize the concerned fluid into many of those categories. What are those we are going to see in the upcoming slides. The second points ensure us that to study the viscosity of fluid, there are various viscometers and you can also judge the viscosity by knowing its fluidity too. Okay. To study the Newton's law of flow, that means if the fluid is applied or it is fulfilling the condition of Newton's law of flow, we are considering its Newtonian fluid, and vice versa case are categorized under the non-Newtonian fluid. Okay, to study the principles of packing, so initially the sir have informed us the categories of packaging, that is primary, secondary, tertiary and quaternary. Okay, to study the nature of flow in different stress and strain conditions, to manufacture the proper dosage form of drug or medicament. Okay, these are six basic points that gives us by studying the rheology. Cool. The first system is the Newtonian fluid system. The fluid which obeys the Newton's law of flow are termed to be the Newtonian fluid. The Newton's law states that the rate of stress is directly proportional to the rate of shear. So this statement is the basic, you know, statement of the.
Hello,
Yes, sir.
Malika, your voice is not clear now.
Okay, am I audible now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Please continue.
Okay, sorry for inconvenience. 1 minute. Okay, we were we were on the point that Newton's law of flow. So here the Newton's law states that the rate of stress is having direct relation with the rate of shear. So this statement is again formulated into the equation format, that is rate of shear is nothing but dv by dr, or it is also denoted by capital G, whereas rate of stress is force per acting area, okay, F by A. So according to the Newton's law of flow, dv by dr is directly proportional to the F by A. So we can replace this dv by dr, that is nothing but the rate of shear, with the capital G. So we get this equation G n, or we can say it is a eta, which reflects the viscosity, but it is constant in the equation, which is equal to F by A, because initially we have said that dv by dr is having direct ratio with F by A. Just we are replacing this we are equating this rate of shear equation with the capital G. So we are getting this equation where eta is constant, reflecting the viscosity. So if we want to calculate the viscosity for a particular fluid, then we can rearrange the equation and we would get the equation in this format, and from the above equation we can derive the following statement. Okay, this equation usually denotes this statement that the viscosity is a stress applied over a shear. Okay, this Newtonian fluid system involves the a statement that is rate of stress is having direct ratio with the rate of shear, and that are reflected in the form of their equations. We are equating it and we are removing by rearrangement the equation for the viscosity, and the equation for the viscosity has its statement that the viscosity is a stress applied over a shear. Okay, the examples which falls under the Newtonian fluid system, that means it follows what the Newton's law of flow, are dilute solutions. That means the concentration of particles shouldn't be not more than 5%. Such solutions, suspensions, and emulsions are categorized under the Newtonian fluid system. Apart from that, water is the classic example. Carbon tetrachloride and glycerin are the examples which falls under the Newtonian fluid system. Okay. The upcoming is the non-Newtonian fluid. Here the fluid which doesn't obey the Newton's law of flow are termed to be non-Newtonian fluid. Thus the rate of shear, as it is not applicable to the Newton's law, that means here the rate of shear is having no direct relation with the rate of stress. Okay, here both the times I have wrote the shear, so please cooperate. It is rate of stress is not directly proportional to the rate of shear. The flow depends on various parameters, which leads to inconstant in the rate of shear and stress, and eventually cause inconstant viscosity of flow. Based on this variation, the non-Newtonian fluid is distributed into these many types. So in short, the statement 1 and 2 trying to tell you that as the fluid which falls under the non-Newtonian category are not applicable to the Newton's law of flow, that means the rate of stress is not directly proportional to rate of shear. So as this flow of fluid or non-Newtonian fluids flow is not depending on the rate of shear and stress, so it depends upon the another or various parameters which leads to inconstant in the rate of shear and stress. As there is unequal or no equal proportion in between the rate of shear and stress, it eventually affects the fluid viscosity, right? And if the viscosity is affected, it will have its impact on the fluid flow. So this second statement trying to tell you that only
Monica, please, Hello.
Yes,
Yes, you are
sir.
not audible clearly. You are not audible clearly now. Please, you have to check
Okay.
your connectivity.
Okay, just 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, am I now audible? So up till now, any of the voice haven't came up to you? Yes?
No.
Any of the voice? कुछ भी सुनाई नहीं दिया
Yes,
अभी तक.
you are audible.
Yes, you
You
can
are
continue
audible.
now.
Okay, I thought from initially was not getting voice. Okay, just a second. Have you got this Newtonian fluid system, whatever I am trying to explain? Yes?
Yes, Malika.
We have, okay, thank you. So,
Yes.
yes, then we have moved over the non-Newtonian fluid where the second statement is little bit lengthier, but yet it is clearing the concept related to each other. So, when the fluid, which is okay, when the non-Newtonian fluid is not applicable for the Newton's law of flow, that means here the rate of stress is not having direct ratio with the rate of stress. So here, as it doesn't depend upon those relations, but it depends upon the various parameters which actually lead to the inconstant or unequal proportion between rate of shear and rate of stress. This unequal or inconstant relation causes its effect on the viscosity. So as the viscosity remain inconstant, it will affect the flow of the fluid. So based on these conditions, the non-Newtonian fluid is distributed into pseudoplastic flow, which is also termed to be shear thinning system. What is this shear thinning system? We are going to look in the upcoming slide. Second is plastic flow. Third is dilatant flow, which is also known as shear thickening system. Okay, here are the three graphs which depicts these three flows. So first graph says us about the pseudoplastic flow, which is also known as what? Shear thinning system, where on y-axis you find shearing stress and on x-axis you will find the rate of shear. Similarly, the plastic flow graph says about this parallelogram, and for the dilating flow, this is the C graph reflects the dilatant flow or shear thickening system. Here the slope usually say us the mobility. Okay, the slope we are consider here the mobility. But in case of plastic flow, we can also derive the yield value from the slope. Okay, in case of pseudoplastic flow, it doesn't obey or it doesn't gives the yield value. Okay, but in case of plastic flow, we can usually measure or calculate the yield value. So, for example, the formulations which falls under the non-Newtonian fluid are polyphasic pharmaceutical formulations. So here I have encoded this because under which how many formulations you will find, these all many falls under non-Newtonian fluid. So just I have quoted here the category under which all the suspensions, formulations, emulsions are considered to be the non-Newtonian fluid. It is polyphasic pharmaceutical formulations. Okay. Now, as I have told, the non-Newtonian fluid based on the inconsistency in the viscosity, they are distributed in what? Pseudoplastic, plastic and dilatant flow. So one by one we are trying to recollect the points. That first point says about the pseudoplastic flow is this fluid shows the continuous decrease in the viscosities with an increase in the shear rate. So basically we have seen in the initiation of chapter that the viscosity has the inverse ratio with the temperature. So for the pseudoplastic flow, as I have encoded that it based on various other parameters. Okay, so on that basis, the first point says us these fluids show the continuous decrement in the viscosity with an increase in the shear rate. This flow behavior is called shear thinning. As we are enhancing the shear rate cycles, it is decreasing what? The viscosity of the flow. As viscosity decreases, its fluidity get increased. That means it becomes very smooth. Okay, very thin. So it is said to be that pseudoplastic flow is also termed to be shear thinning system, because here the viscosity decreases with increase in the shear rate. It is the justification for the another title. Okay. Third point says the pseudoplastic flow exhibited by polymeric solutions. They are the examples like aqueous system containing natural and synthetic gums like Tragakant. Guar gums also you can quote here. Sodium alginate, methyl cellulose, sodium carboxy methyl cellulose. These are what? Artificial gums or synthetic gums, where Tragakant, agar, guar gums are the gums falling under natural category. Now the pseudoplastic flow is well explained or well denoted by the equation called the Ostwald's equation. The above equation explain us that in spite the shear rate increases with increase in stress, but rheogram of pseudoplastic flow is not linear. So here in the first graph you may see this is the slope of the pseudoplastic flow, which is not linear. The reason for this is given by this Ostwald's equation, that Fn is equal to just a minute. Okay, sorry for the inconvenience, please. So Ostwald's equation is the Fn is equal to eta g. Okay, where F is the or N, capital N is the number given to the exponents, while eta is the viscosity coefficient, where G is the constant. Okay, it is the equation which tells us why the slope of pseudoplastic flow is not linear. Okay, for pseudoplastic flow, the capital N is always greater than 1. Okay, this N, which is the number given to the exponent, is always greater than 1. So that we have the examples under the pseudoplastic flow are polymeric solutions. There, that means it has more than one component. So it fulfills what? These conditions. So they are categorized under this system. Okay, by taking the log on both sides we have to take the log of this equation on both sides. When this equation is plotted on graph, we get the straight line graph for pseudoplastic flow. This equation log G is equal to N log F minus log eta, that is viscosity. So if we plot this graph, we would get the straight line, and this equation is the Ostwald's equation, which had designed to explain this rheogram of the pseudoplastic flow. Okay, so as in the case of earlier slide, I have told that the pseudoplastic flow doesn't ever fulfill this yield value phenomena. Okay, the sorry for the background disturbance. So please cooperate. I'm trying to speak a little bit louder for that purpose. Okay, the second flow is the plastic flow. So the substance which undergo the plastic flow are said to be what? Bingham bodies. He was the scientist who have initiated his efforts to derive this plastic flow. Okay, the substance which undergo the plastic flow are said to be what? Bingham bodies. The plastic flow is a flow eliminates the flow of liquid under stress which exhibit an yield value. So it is the flow which having the yield value phenomena. So what basically the yield value is? So yield value is a point at which plastic flow curve intersects the shear stress axis. Okay, it is the basic definition for the yield value. So it has the action. So this above statement which define the yield value, its explanation is given by the subsequent sentence that it has the action to break down the van der Waals force between the particles. So initially we have seen, so let's take an example, the concentrated suspension. So here as it indicate it is concentrated, the solid particle is more, the composition of solid particle is more, that means the attraction between the two particles are more. So this yield value has the basic action to minimize these van der Waals forces, these binding forces between the two molecules and make the substance to flow, and the particular flow is termed to be what? Plastic flow. So yield value play here vital role to minimize the bonding force, for example van der Waals force between the particles, to make the particle flow. That flow is termed to be what? Plastic flow, and the substance which exhibit plastic flow are said to be the Bingham bodies. Okay, this yield value, it is nothing but the force, okay, that minimize the van der Waals force between the particles. So its unit is set in CGS system is dyne per centimeter square. Okay, apart from that, the yield value is also indicate the force of flocculation. High the yield value, high is the degree of flocculation. Flocculation in case of coarse dispersion, we have gone through this phenomena, that is there is the formation of aggregate, right, and the cake formation occur. So initially if we find out the yield value for the particular formulation, if it is greater than the standard numbers, we can clarify that the concerned suspension or formulation is having what? High degree of flocculation. Okay, it is one of the significance of the yield value. Okay, so now the below the yield value, the flow exhibits the elastic flow, that is fail to flow. But once the liquid exceeds the yield value, the flow occur and achieve the plastic flow. So I am trying to explain this statement only, that if the yield value is lower, so the concerned flow is exhibit similar to the elastic flow, that means it is resisting to flow. But when the liquid exceed its yield value, you will get the plastic flow. The plastic flow doesn't begin to flow until the shearing stress is equal to or exceed the yield value. It is the another statement, or we can say the synonymous statement of the above. Okay, that means for the plastic flow occurring, the yield value should be more, or more we can say optimum, we can say. If it is more, we can get the degree of flocculation. So we don't want more yield value, we want the optimum yield value to occur the plastic flow. Clear? So second bit under the plastic flow is plastic viscosity, which is the reciprocal of mobility. Mobility is denoted by what? Slope of graph. Okay, so the slope, if we take the reciprocal of that, we can achieve the plastic viscosity. Now for the getting the plastic flow in approximate manner, the Bingham equation has been derived, which is U is equal to capital F minus small f divided by capital G, where capital U reflects us the plastic viscosity, which is the reciprocal of mobility. Okay, and capital F is shearing stress, small f is the yield value. And here we have seen the shearing stress implication that the plastic flow doesn't being to flow until shearing stress is equal to or exceeds beyond the yield value. So here in the equation, this capital F has very much significance as it relates with the yield value. So they are subtracting between each other. Okay. Okay. We have seen about the pseudoplastic flow, plastic flow, and the last flow coming under the non-Newtonian system is the dilatant flow, which is also known as shear thickening system. So can anyone tell, am I clearly audible now? Now the voice are not breaking now? Yes? Okay, thank you so much. So third flow coming under the non-Newtonian is the dilatant flow, which is also known to be shear thickening system. Why? Because we will see it in the following points. The flow exhibits the elevation in viscosity with increase in the shear rate. So it is, once you understand this pseudoplastic flow, why it is called the shear thinning system, you will definitely write down the definition for the dilate or the justification for the shear thickening system for dilatant flow. Okay, here in the pseudoplastic flow, the viscosity was decreasing with increase in the shear rate, and opposite to that in dilatant flow there is the increase in viscosity with increase in the shear rate. That's why it is called shear thickening system. Cool. The dilatant flow can regain their initial structure once the force is withdrawn. Okay, the highly concentrated suspensions emulsion exhibit the dilatant flow because here the increase in viscosity with increase in shear rate, the suspension is thicker one. Okay, because it has the composition of particles more as compared to pseudoplastic. Okay. The other examples for the dilatant flow or shear thickening system are kaolin in water, starch in water, zinc oxide in water. If you see kaolin, starch and zinc oxide, these are partially, we can say, partially insoluble with the water, so that it imparts you a concentrated thick suspension, and which we can easily categorize into dilatant flow because it has the higher viscosity and it goes on increasing when we increase the shear rate. Okay, it is very easier to remember. They are partially insoluble in water, that's why they are categorized under the dilatant flow. At low shear, they exhibit liquid phase, but once the stress gets heavy on it, the solidification is observed. Because the first statement tells us that increase in viscosity with increase in shear rate, if it goes on increasing the shear rate, at a particular point the viscosity get maximized and it lead to the solidification phenomena. Okay, once the solidification occurred, the constant flow convert into elastic flow. That means it fails to flow. So we require here optimum shear rate so we can get the optimum viscosity to occur dilatant flow or to initiate dilatant flow. That's why the dilatant flow needs hands-on training for its processing. So this statement will get clear once you cleared with this mechanism. So here initially we have told we need the concentrated suspension where the composition of colloidal particles, coarse particles are maximized. So as the coarse particle, colloidal particles are present in maximized number, the the interspace between the two particles is very less. Okay, that's why the flow doesn't occur or it is very thick. So once we add the solvent, let's say water, the concentrated suspension convert into dilute. Here in the process of transformation, the water molecule that we are adding, it will occupy the minimize or very small space between the particles and make the particles to move over each other. And once the addition of solvent is done, we will see the increase in the flow property because it converts the concentrated suspension into little bit dilute solution so that the intermolecular space between particles get little bit wider and they can easily slide over each other and we can get its fluidity property. Okay, these are the basic mechanism. You can elaborate it once you get cleared with the basic concept. Okay. Now, up till now, any difficulties there in my voice? I'm clearly audible. Yes. Yes, sir. Thank you. So next phenomena is the thixotropy, which can also be named as gel sol gel transformation. What is gel sol gel? We will come to know once we study its mechanism. So first point says the viscosity has the inverse ratio with the temperature, right? The system in which there is the continuation in the decrement of viscosity in spite the rate of shear stress is constant, such system is categorized into thixotropic system. So here while studying this thixotropy, I was having little bit confusion between the pseudoplastic flow and thixotropy, right? Because here we are observing in both the cases, that is pseudoplastic and thixotropy, there is the decrement in the viscosity. But let me clear here that in the pseudoplastic there is the decrement in viscosity when there is the increment in the shear stress. But in case of thixotropy, there is the decrement in viscosity when the rate of shear stress is constant. Here in the thixotropy, the rate of shear stress is what? Constant. In pseudoplastic, there was the increment. Cool. So once you go through this phenomena, I thought you will also get the same confusion, so I have cleared it. Yeah, so the thixotropy system usually tells us that there is a decrement in the viscosity in spite the rate of shear stress is constant. Okay, the non-Newtonian fluid, usually pseudoplastic flow, reflects the thixotropy phenomena. Here the statement is very clear. It reflects the thixotropic phenomena. It is not similar to thixotropy phenomena. It reflects the thixotropy because there is the decrement in the viscosity. Else, there is in the pseudoplastic the rate of shear is increasing, and in the thixotropy the rate of shear is constant. Okay. The thixotropy usually indicates the fluffiness of the material. The world famous example of thixotropy phenomena is mayonnaise. Why the mayonnaise have been quoted here is once you take the mayonnaise and apply on the bread or any of the bakery product, initially when you apply with a gentle force, you will find it little bit semi-solid. But when you take it into a cup and you start to grind it, what we are doing, we are increasing the external force. When the grinder we start, it will occur very fast and the rotation of mayonnaise is greater as compared to applying by gently. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? When the mayonnaise is applied with gentle force, it will reflect semi-solid formulation. Okay, but when the external force is increased, you will get it little bit thinner. That means here the gel sol gel transformation is seen. When you apply the mayonnaise with gentle force, you will get gel like formulation, but when the external force is increased, you will get sol like formulation. That means we are increasing its fluidity. So apart from that, in the thixotropy index is also vital, which is the ratio of low speed viscosity to high speed viscosity. Low speed viscosity is that when we are applying the mayonnaise with gentle force, it has the high viscosity. That means at low speed viscosity. And when we use the grinder for making the mayonnaise thinner, that is high speed viscosity. For the viscosity calculation, we can use the Oswald equation. Because it comes under the pseudoplastic flow, we can use the Oswald equation. That equation which gives you the straight line graph for pseudoplastic flow. Please remember that. In the bracket, I have put on this statement which says the shear thinning system show due to the initial dimension regaining process depends on temperature. Okay, here the shear thinning system also, the mayonnaise show the shear thinning system due to the initial dimension regaining process depends on the temperature. For this to understand this statement, let's come to here. This is the definition for the thixotropy or altered definition for the thixotropy, which says an isothermal and comparatively slow regains the initial dimensions, whereas due to prolonged standing leads to the loss of consistency. Now this thixotropy, we can say it is very delicate to the external parameters, which says an isothermal and comparatively slow regain occur. Okay, gel sol gel transformation, it is very slow process. This gel sol gel transformation is nothing but the transformation of one phase to another, that is gel phase to sol phase. This transformation is what? Very slow process, and it depends upon what? Temperature. And as it is slow process, there is the possibility for loss of consistency. With there is the possibility that the consistency of the formulation will get vanished once it get prolonged standing. If we allow the thixotropic suspension to stand for prolonged period, we can get the transformation in proper manner. But when there is the no proper caring of the particular suspension, we might have a disadvantage in the form of loss of its consistency. Okay? Okay? Are you getting what I am trying to say? Yes, anyone can reply so that I can move forward.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So once the thixotropy is clear, it is nothing but the transformation of gel to the sol, and this transformation is very slower process. It require very care conditions. If the care conditions are not satisfied, it will lead to the loss of consistency of the formulation, and this transformation is the temperature dependent. So in the initial it is quoted isothermal, it is depending on the temperature. Here the thixotropy index is also vital. Once you understand the mayonnaise concept, you can also find out the thixotropy index, low speed viscosity to high speed viscosity. Okay, the significance of thixotropy, that means after studying the thixotropy or after applying the thixotropy, what we would get. For proper suspension storage, for excellent physical stability, the concerned suspension should exhibit the thixotropy phenomena. Okay, the spreadability of topical formulation, that is dermatological products like cream, paste, that should also reflects the thixotropy phenomenon. The protrusion of paste from the container are the classic examples of the thixotropic phenomena. The substances like as follows: bentonite, kaolin, cellulose, that too in macrocrystalline format. This substance, when added to suspension formulation, we will be successful in proper stability of it. This whole PPT tells us that for proper storage condition, for proper suspension storage, for spreadability of topical formulation, we are supposed to look over the thixotropic phenomena, and we can also maintain the thixotropic phenomena by adding these following substances like bentonite, kaolin and cellulose to enhance or to maintain the thixotropic phenomena. Once the thixotropy phenomena is maintained, we can achieve the good physical stability of formulation. And the examples for the thixotropy is the processes, we can say, not the examples. Classic example is mayonnaise. The actions like pouring of liquid, the protrusion of paste from the container are the classic processes of the thixotropic phenomena. Okay. So determination of viscosity, I will take classification. I will take the viscometer aspects like these Oswald, Falling and Brookfield. Another student will take its principal, construction and other aspects. Okay, just I will go through these 3 slides very superficially. So initially I was planned to make you clear the concept orally, not writing much in the slide. So once because she is taking, so I would take it little bit faster. Okay. So viscosity definition goes that it's the ability of fluid to resist the flow. The viscosity varies with the rate of shear, temperature. Okay. The viscosity of fluid is calculated basically through the viscometers. Now types of viscosity, here I have just mentioned 4 types, but basically there are 8 types of viscosity. You can Google it, so you may find it all. But here I have just enrolled 4 types because in the syllabus it is required just 4. So kinematic viscosity, it is the ratio of dynamic viscosity to the density of fluid. The equation is the capital V, which is the kinematic viscosity, is equal to eta. Eta is the dynamic viscosity and it is rho, not P. Rho is the density of fluid. Relative viscosity, the rate of viscosity of solution to its solute. Okay, rate of viscosity of solution to the rate of viscosity of solute is the relative viscosity. Intrinsic viscosity, it's reduced specific viscosity in the limit of infinite dilution or zero dilution. Dynamic viscosity is also known as what? Absolute viscosity, and it measures the fluid internal resistance to flow. That means viscosity. Okay. Classification of viscometers. So we have seen the viscometers are well classified in into the single point and multiple point, because in the single point they are the viscometers which measures the viscosity of a fluid at a specific condition. Okay, and in case of multiple point, they are the viscometers which measures the viscosity of fluid at different parameters. So capillary viscometers which fall under single point viscometer. So capillary viscometer, well known. Another viscometer fall under the capillary is Oswald viscometer, which analyze the viscosity of Newtonian fluid. Fluid sphere viscometer, fluid ball viscometer, which also analyze the Newtonian fluid. Third, which fall under the multiple point, is cup and bob viscometer. Example is Brookfield viscometer, which analyzes what? Non-Newtonian fluid. So here are the images of all 3 viscometers. Okay, it is Oswald, Falling sphere and Brookfields. So here are the equations. By use of this viscometer, once we have derived the readings of the concerned fluid allotted to us, to determine the viscosity of those fluid, we can use these equations for specific viscometers. Specific equations are there. For Oswald viscometer, it is eta 1, rho 1 into T1 by rho 2 into T2 into eta 2. Reference liquid and test liquid we have to take, and we have to compare the test liquid reading with the standard. Similarly, in case of falling sphere viscometer, eta is equal to T SB minus ST into capital B. Okay, here the falling sphere viscometer, just a minute, I would yeah, here the eta stands for the viscosity for the test fluid. T is the time, small t is the time of flow. SB and SF are the specific gravities of ball and test fluid, and capital B is the constant. Similarly, for Brookfield viscometer is eta is equal to 100 by RPM into TK SMC SRC into T. These terminologies are usually given during the practicals. It is related to Brookfield viscometer construction aspect. So it is initially given. We are not supposed to remove this. Okay, just we have to remove the RPM and 100. How much revolution it had been required for the viscometer to determine the viscosity. Okay. The last part or the bit comes is the deformation of solids. So the definition for the deformation is that it is initially a molecule. When we apply a force on it, it will deform and it will change its shape, or change in the size and change in the shape take place. Here you will find there is the change in the size. Apart from that, the shape remains same, but in the subsequent part, there is the change in the shape. So when the external force is applied on a particular object, it will either change its size or change in shape, and this process or phenomena is known as deformation of solids. And this deformation of solid is well classified under elastic deformation and plastic deformation. So here in the question bank of one book, I have looked that there is the question for the differentiation between elastic and plastic deformation. So I have designed in that format only, so that it will be much helpful to you. So here the elastic deformation is an reversible process and plastic deformation is irreversible process. So here I want to clarify that here the elastic deformation is for solid. In previous slide we have seen the elastic flow for the liquid. Elastic flow suggests us that there is the no flow of liquid. Okay, and elastic